Going hot. Going hot.
Unload, show clear, and die. Napaka-shocking ng title, di ba? Let's look at the common person who purchases a gun for the purpose of self-defense and goes to the range. Does he shoot? One of the first things that they learn about is not necessarily all of the safety aspects, but more on the unloading, the clearing of the firearm, and that's it. Sadly, it happens even during so-called tactical classes. Kaya nga umiiwas ako sa tactical eh. Kasi tactical yung presyo, pero yung lessons na tinuturo are far from realistic. So imagine, in a real scenario, let's say, yung legally armed citizen, ginamit niya yung firearm niya, nakipag-inkwentro siya. And then right after shooting one bad guy, nag-unload siya, nag-clear. It can happen. They drill it into their subconscious every single time they're on the range. Pag putok nila, wala na silang ibang gagawin kundi unload, show clear. Even on their own, yun ang mahirap doon. Let's not kid ourselves. Huwag na tayo maglokohan. Whenever people purchase that handgun, most likely gagamitin yan in a self-defense scenario. But why is it that people are not taught in that particular manner? Sana man lang either make the clear distinction between self-defense and sports. Unfortunately, hindi ganon sa actual ang nangyayari in the firing ranges. And even with your typical instructors who are more concerned with the gun not going off, hindi yung how to properly deploy your firearm in a worst case scenario. So how do you mitigate this problem? One thing I advocate is a proper holster system. So ibig sabihin, after you shoot, all you need to do is holster the handgun and it will be safe, totally safe for as long as hindi mo hinahawakan. Walang pwedeng mangyari. I always practice the discipline of stay hot, reload. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Right after each string, mag swap, press check, and holster again. Hindi yung nakipag-engage ka pagkatapos nag-unload ka, nag-clear ka. Kung marami ka pang kalaban, hindi mo nakakuha lahat. Guess what? You're standing there, lumantad ka na, and you have an empty firearm. Nice one. Another way to mitigate this is always practice with a body. Ibig sabihin, our minds kasi work with a sort of a command prompt. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Di ba, pag ikaw nag-set ng alarm clock mo at yun ay tumilili, anong ginagawa mo? Babangon ka from out of the bed, di ba? Yung joke nga, te sa amo ni nigbagting kaon. Your mind works in such a way na meron siyang mga prompts na sinusunod niya. So, ganun din tayo. Yung prompting ng mga tao is, after the last shot, unload, show clear. Yun yung nakaprograma sa utak nila. People are so wrapped around the axle with, oy, dapat hindi pumutok, dapat hindi pumutok. Another danger here is, with regular firearms, pagtanggal mo ng magazine, you can easily put the hammer down, either assisted or you let the hammer fall by pulling the trigger. But there are certain handguns that were designed with a magazine safety. Ibig sabihin, pag walang magazine, hindi kakalabit yung trigger. So what's the danger in that? For you to drop the hammer, you have to insert a magazine. So what if, out of force of habit, hindi mo maibaba yung hammer, naglagay ka ng magazine, and by instinct, you rack the slide and you drop the hammer. Negligent discharges have been known to happen. So conversely, those of you who've attended knife sparring, knife fighting lessons, ang ginagawa, merong third man palagi. So between the two na nag-spar, let's say nagkaroon ng disarm, nakuha mo yung blade ng kalaban mo, you hand it over to a third person. Why? Because sa paulit-ulit mong ginagawa, baka mamaya iaabot mo ulit dun sa kasparing mo. And what if the real thing happens? sa paulit-ulit na disarm mo na yung kalaban, nakuha mo na yung kutsilyo, pero iaabot mo ulit sa kanya. So that's something that we really need to avoid. Training scars like that. It's important to note that public ranges enforce a cold range policy. Ibig sabihin, after firing, unload, show clear. But whenever it's allowed or under the supervision of a range officer, pwede naman mag-prompt yung range officer. Wait for the command. Hindi yung magiging instinctive sa'yo after mong pumutok, mag-unload ka, mag-clear ka. So, my advice is wait for the range officer to tell you what to do. Wala namang DQ pagka nakaganon ka lang. Sabihin ng range officer, if you're finished, unload and show clear. Then that's your prompt. Pwede ka na mag-unload and show clear. So, kumbaga, in the real scenario, antay ka. What happens next? Instead of, wala nga nangyayari, tingin mo wala nangyayari, then nag-unload ka kagad. These little things, you take that into consideration. That's been the long and the short of it. This has been Absabando for Manila Sentinel Raw. Get rid of training scars.